Well, hey there, guys. It's Ken Lawson, Renaissance Man, and I am back with Rosalia Lux. Please watch this opening because there's important information in the beginning here for how I'm approaching this album and just a couple of quick disclaimers. Obviously, I don't speak 14 languages. Um, some would probably say I barely speak English. But what I'm going to do is because I won't know what the lyrics are. Rosalia took 2.5 years, I think, making this album, going through and perfecting the different languages and writing in them and using Google Translate or, different translations and all that. So it only seems right to give this album the respect that it deserves. And that means listening to the music, breaking it down, and also breaking down the lyrics because she is this is a concept album basically, and it is telling a, a very long story in a way in chapters. So I am going to approach it methodically to a degree, but try not to be pausing too much and talking too much in the sections that I do. So please read all the information that's underneath. I will also put it in the translations so that the on-screen comments you can have translated as well. Because if they're just in English on screen, you won't be able to have the translation in your subtitles. But go to your subtitles and turn them on to whatever language you prefer, and I will try and make sure that everything that I say and write is correct in the subtitles. Because I imagine there will be people in multiple languages watching this. I will be attempting to pronounce all the names of the songs correctly and also translating them to English. So, any translations that are wrong, just remember that I'm doing my best. So if you leave a comment, please don't rake me over the coals for getting things wrong because I can only go with what I find on the internet. And without knowing the languages myself, obviously I'm going to get some things wrong. And my pronunciations are probably going to be average at best. So, anyway, that's where we're at to start. We're going to jump into this fairly quickly, and I'm going to try and put most of the information down there because this is going to be a long one since it's a fairly in-depth breakdown of the music and the lyrics. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. I would also request that anybody watching this, please go to Patreon if you can support me there. These kind of reactions take me sometimes 2 to 3 days between research, shooting, and all the other things, and editing. So any help that I could have there would be appreciated. If not, I appreciate you just coming and watching and enjoying, and that's what I'm here for. All right? So let's go ahead and get started and start with song number 1. By the way, I will be doing the vinyl. I'm not doing the vinyl recording, but I am doing the vinyl version that has 18 songs instead of 15 songs. So I will be doing all of the songs as well. All right, so the first song we're going to do is Sexo, Violencia y Llantas, which is Sex, Violence, and Tires. It's kind of a prelude to what the whole album is going to be in a way. So this one isn't based on a female saint, as a lot of the others are, although some of them are somewhat more spiritual and things like that. But we're going to jump into this one really quickly, and we'll see how it goes, because the only song I've heard 2 songs off of the album. So I will let you know when I get to those. And we'll be pausing along the way just for copyright reasons and so that I can get this up on YouTube. I'm ready for this journey. I like the tempo build and the pullback. You notice it's only a single note on the high. The left hand's doing all the work.
Quien pudiera vivir
cello.
Primero amar el mundo y luego amar a Dios. ¿Quién pudiera vivir entre los dos? Primero amar el mundo y luego amar a Dios. ¿Quién pudiera venir de esta tierra?
That was
entrar
unexpected.
En el cielo y volver a la tierra. Que entre la tierra y el cielo. Nunca viene suelo. En el primero, sexo, violencia y llantas. Deportes de sangre, monedas en gargantas.
What a great opening for this
En
album.
el segundo, destellos, palomas y santas. La gracia y el fruto y el beso de la balanza.
Okay, I know we're right near the end of the song and it's probably going to go into the next one. But the couple of things I want to point out in here that a lot of people probably won't notice. What I was talking about with the piano was the left hand's doing all the little arpeggiated stuff, and the right hand's just doing single note, ding, ding, you know, which is really cool. And then here, there's an example of it. But this sound was surprising that came in.
Pudiera vivir
after the cello.
Los dos. Primero amar el mundo,
And she took her voice on a journey through this whole section.
¿Quién pudiera vivir
I mean, right there, she's chest and then flips up into head.
Primero amar el mundo,
Little.
luego amar a Dios.
And I love the way it widened out right there. And I think that's where she's starting to go to heaven. Then we have this abrasive sound.
Volver a la tierra, que entre la tierra y el cielo, nunca viene suelo. En el primero, sexo, violencia y llantas.
She's doing great dynamics in here with that kind of creating sound, and it's talking about the journey from earth to heaven, and the space in between the earth and the sky. It says there would never be ground, and then she starts comparing what earth is like and what heaven is like. So she lays out the parts of sex, violence, tires, blood sports, coins and throats. And then in the second, which would be heaven, is sparks, doves, and saints, which the saints are what she's going to allude to through most of the album. And then grace and fruit and the kiss of the balance. So really, really, who could live between the two? Saying that it's hard to be grounded in the earthly sins and all of that, and also be aspiring to heavenly things. And I believe that I saw somewhere that this is a little bit talking about fame as well, of that when you're into the realm of fame, that there are so many temptations and things all around, and things that are not heavenly that are all a part of it. And it's hard to hold on to your faith while you're dealing with all of the things that come with fame. So I believe that's what this is saying. You know, I've read some of what other people think, but I'm also telling you what I think. But I'm just loving the melody lines. Ooh, and then
destellos, palomas y santas.
As we went from that. I love the little lilt there. Boy, this orchestra is doing a beautiful job of swells.
luego amarte a Dios.
You hear the just slow build up, and then it starts sounding a little discordant. Because it says, first I will love the world, and then I will love God. Boy, we just jump right into there with a hard cut. So, all right, we're to the next song. Let's go ahead and go to that. There's not a whole lot more to talk about in the first one, so we're going to jump right into this one. All right, so the next song is Reliquia. Reliquia. I think that's it. It's the Relic. Well, Relic. Inspired by Saint Rose of Lima. All right, I've read through the lyrics, so I've got a decent understanding of the song. So let's go ahead and get into it, and then we'll stop along the way. It's going to be hard to stop along the way with these because they're such little journeys of their own, but I kind of have to. So let's jump in. What a beautiful arrangement. I can't tell if one is delayed or if it's two playing just behind each other.
Perdí mis manos en Jerez y mis ojos en Roma. Crecí y el descaro lo aprendí.
I love the innocence in her voice here.
Por Barcelona. Perdí mi lengua en París.
Ooh, pretty, pretty.
Mi tiempo anhelé. Los hills en Milán. La sonrisa en UK.
Ooh, you know what I'm catching from this? Okay, before we go to the next part, I was listening to the two different lines. The one is, you know, frenetic and dun, 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 dun. And then there's an underneath line that has a sadness to it that's long drawn out notes. And this song being based on Saint Rose of Lima, she was a beautiful woman who, once she started gaining attention for her beauty, she ended up cutting off her hair and covering her face with, rubbed peppers on her face so that people wouldn't notice her as much and she could just focus on, you know, what was important to her, which was her faith. And what this is about is ROSALÍA's journey through the different phases of her fame and all the different places she's been and left pieces of herself, which are the relics that she's leaving behind. And I'll put down in the writing, remember to read the writing or the subtitles and see there are definite references to many, many things of places she's been and what she left there. But listen for the sadness that's underlying the frenetic upper part, because it's really, really interesting. And I love her voice in this, having that innocence to it. And I imagine she may lose that innocence as it goes on, because she's enjoying being in the fame, but all the attention and all that takes little pieces of her along the way. So really, really interesting. Okay. Now there's happy. Now listen underneath right here.
Por Barcelona. Perdí mi lengua en París.
I love that note. Now here. Oh, she's also singing a note underneath. Hear that? Ooh, she sounds so pretty up in her head voice. I love that head voice, down to chest, back up to head. Wow. see what part she moved to right there, because what's interesting about that is I think she changed the part she's talking about the different things she left different places and the effect those cities had on her. And in her interviews, she talked in specifics about, you know, Paris. I like that. I lost my tongue in Paris, which could mean that that's where she started picking up another language and things like that. So that's when she was starting to learn other things. But I'll look that up. My time in LA, the heels in Milan, and she was talking about losing things every time you travel to all the different places, and the smile in the UK, which means that she was happy at times, but there were times when her smile was not there. But I just love the arrangement on these strings and all. Really beautiful. Okay, let's go back a little bit. And the jump cuts are really interesting because it's like she's falling into a sense of nostalgia and then boom, back to real life.
Soy tu reliquia, seré tu reliquia. Perdí la fe en decir,
You see, it just
la
jumps.
amiga en Bangkok, un mal amor en Madrid y en México el blond, la mala hostia en Berlín y él está en Granada. Perra nació el coraje, pero el cielo nació en Buenos
What an
Aires.
interesting percussion
Hoy
sound.
lloré y mis pestañas deshilé y en la ciudad de cristal fue que me trasquilé. Pero el pelo vuelve a crecer, la pureza está en mí y está en Marrakech. No soy una santa, pero estoy blessed. Pero mi corazón,
She's doing such a great job of forceful then pulling it back,
yo siempre lo doy.
and it makes it hit harder when she comes in hard again.
Coge un trozo de mí,
Ooh,
quédatelo pa' cuando no estés. Seré tu reliquia.
she's just dancing all over her dynamics. I mean, just listen. Ooh. Well, I want to see what she's singing about in this section. I love this line in here. Purity is in me, and it's in Marrakesh. No, I'm not a saint, but I'm blessed. My heart has never been mine. I always give it. Take a piece of me. That's her lyricism in this is so beautiful. And we will talk at length about her writing process and all that. Will be in some of the written comments underneath.
Quédatelo pa' cuando no estés. Seré tu reliquia. Soy tu reliquia.
It's like she's mourning the things she's leaving behind.
Seré tu reliquia.
Great array of instruments, because now we're just piano. I love those little trills down. That's beautiful. You hear that? Ding.
Huyendo de aquí, como huí de Florida, somos delfines saltando, saliendo
The backup's
y
being her
entrando
vocals, I
en el
believe.
aro escarlata y brillante del tiempo.
It's like a chorus.
Es solo un momento, mar eterno y bravo, la eterna canción, ni tiene salida, ni tiene mi perdón.
Oof. Ooh. What a frenetic song at times. Wow. That one was so interesting. And the really cool thing about this is ROSALÍA did about 97%, she said, of the writing on this. And she was heavily involved in all the executive producing and being there for the mixing and all that kind of stuff over all that time and over different recording studios and setups and all of that. But she had help on some of the lyrics as far as ironing out the translations and making them work, you know, from humans after she went through and did translations herself and worked that out. But this is, the majority is ROSALÍA written melodies, all of, it's beautiful. All right, let me wrap up this song with just saying, these lines here at the bottom, it has no exit and it has no forgiveness for me. That is a really great way to end that. It says it has no exit, but it's also / no way out. And so if she's singing about fame and all of that, then the dolphins jumping through hoops is almost like, you know, at SeaWorld. In those places, the dolphins have to perform tricks. You know, even though they're wild creatures, they're kept in a cage and have to perform tricks, jumping through hoops and doing all these things. And so there's no way for them to escape, just as she feels there's no way out of fame once it grabs a hold of you. And that she doesn't like the things that she lost. And so she doesn't forgive fame for taking those things from her and you know, the life that she's lived up to then. So she has no forgiveness. Anyway, she has no way out, but she still can't forgive the situation and what is taken from her. So that's my take on it. All right, let's get to the next one. All right, guys, so now we are to Divinize. And this one is in a mix of languages. It is in Catalan and English. And this one has a very, this one doesn't allude to a saint so much as divinity in, it opens with the Adam and Eve story, basically, of the temptation of the apple. And I think what she's saying through the song is that she chose not to bite the apple and to try to lead a more devoted life and to spread divinity within herself and without herself, through her songs and through all the other things. I think that's what it is that she's doing through here. Let's go ahead and jump in and see how this one sounds. So far, beautiful, beautiful arrangements. Now we got like a Rhodes piano kind of thing, and she's really mixing up the instruments and so basically you can look at temptation as long as you don't partake of it. Ooh, what a nice chord choice there. Wow. I love what she did there with the da, 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 da. And she did that the 3 times and then held it on the last ones. I really like what she's doing here with the lyrics too. And then she had that part through there, through my body you can see the light, bruise me up, I'll eat all of my pride. I know that I was made to divinize. And I think that she's just saying that she can take all the hits. She can do these things and still stay divine in her approach to life. So that would be my guess. But boy, her mix of instruments on this album, really, really interesting. she had a vision that she was able to bring to life that is really exceptional. All right. And the fact that she's choosing languages to fit certain songs is really interesting as well. Okay, back to it. And then sounds like a kind of small drum you'd play with your fingers. She keeps bringing in instruments and then they drop out. And like right there, the strings coming in up high. I'm sorry, I have to stop on this line here because I love it. Each vertebrae reveals a mystery. Pray on my spine. It's a rosary. And through my body, you can see the light. It's really interesting because what this almost makes me think of like Mother Teresa, who you never heard anything bad about her, of any kind of slips along the way and all that. And all she seemed to do was live to spread. She wasn't so much about pushing religion as she was helping humanity and doing it through her actions. And I think that's what ROSALÍA is trying to do, is express her faith through her artistry. And that is her way of avoiding the temptation of the apple by staying true to that. That would be my guess, but I really love those lines there. All right. But yeah, listen to, it's really so cool the way she brings in these instruments. Sometimes for like a measure, it'll be like, nah, and that's all you hear of it. And then it maybe comes back a little bit later here and there, but she's just doing so many different instruments that make a cameo in the song, and then they're gone. And her voice is in this feathery, beautiful, lilting place. Percussion is really good too. I like that push. Hear those little. Now they're holding. Her builds and drawbacks in this whole album really working. Ooh. Wow. Ooh, you hear that dun 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 dun. And now she's bringing in those finger drums again. Ooh. Ooh, I'm not sure what the bigger drums are. I'll have to look and see what kinds of drums she had on this. But the little fingery, tight drums, and then bringing in the lower end ones, really, really dynamic in the builds. She keeps not sticking with one way of playing a thing without layering something with it. Really beautiful. But her voice is beautiful on this. It's just... I love that. And now she's carrying it on. Those sound so almost dissonant. It's so neat. Another beautiful arrangement. Jesus Christ. These songs just...
Mi piel es fina.
Ooh, I'm going to like this one. But you can't tell where it's going to go after the opening part. They had to be thrilled when they looked at the arrangements he was trying to get from the orchestra. Because apparently she was very hands-on with working with the orchestra as well. So she is the one responsible for these little bursts and things like that, and the movement and swells and then drawbacks beautifully. Oh, and the other thing, the production on this album is exceptional because the variety of sounds and trying to get them to all work together and be a cohesive thing, that's difficult. And they're pulling it off extremely well. And, you know, her voice, she's just her voice with not a whole lot of effects and things. It's just her voice is doing the work more than the hardware is, which I really appreciate that. That's really neat. All right. So now we're going to... Oh, I think she might be with somebody on this one. Porcelana. Okay, so this one, wow. This one is in Spanish, Latin, and Japanese. And then they have an English translation. It is so interesting how she's mixing up languages and all that to represent the things that she's wanting to do. This is one of the most ambitious albums I think I've ever seen already with just these 4 tracks. So the English translation is Porcelain, inspired by Ryonen Ginso. I believe that's the name there. So apparently this person was forced into arranged marriages with older men twice. After having several children, probably against her will, she became a nun. Ooh. And she wanted further education, but her beauty was so distracting that she burned her own face. And by the way, I'm going to give credit to the main person that I'm using as a reference for all this that wrote this article, because she did a ton of research and it's helping me a lot. Okay, so I took a break to read through the lyrics and get an understanding of the song a little bit more. I'll point out some lyrics along the way, but it really sounds like a give and take and feeling that you have a light inside of you. We're all fragile creatures, hence the porcelain. And when you're damaged, a light from inside you can also spill out as well. So through your pain, you know, she mentions down through here about her pleasure anesthetizes my pain, and pain anesthetizes my pleasure. And it's funny how the whole human condition is a give and take of that the pleasure you feel can put down the bad way that you feel or the pain you're going through, but then the pain you have keeps you from feeling pleasure at times. It's really a whole give and take and trying to do the right thing even though you're a flawed person and a flawed creature that will make mistakes and do things that maybe you unintentionally hurt someone else, but in the same way you also try to help them and heal them. It's a whole bunch of give and take, and it's in all the different languages, I believe, because it's showing the universality of that this is a whole universe kind of thing, a whole world kind of thing, that this is felt by everybody, no matter where you're from. So I will look into it a little more and we'll see in the writing. All right?
Mi piel es fina, de porcelana.
Almost sounds like a Disney princess.
Rota en la esquina. Mi piel es fina, de porcelana y de ella emana luz que ilumina, ruina divina.
Ooh.
El placer anestesia mi dolor, el dolor anestesia mi placer. Lo que tengo, lo que hago, mi valor, y el dolor siempre vuelve a aparecer. En ti no creo, hasta hasta que te derrames en mi pecho, dentro mi corazón y mi cerebro, como un cubata cae en mi garganta y se vierte en mi pelo hasta el suelo.
This one has attitude.
Ego Sam Lux Mundi, Ego Sam Nil, Ego Sam Lux Mundi, Ego Sam Nil, Ego Sam Lux Mundi.
Stopping early in this one, but I want to go back a little bit there. It caught me so much by surprise. And I think it's once again showing that duality of being damaged, but trying to heal yourself and heal others at the same time. Wow. And the saint that she's referencing, or the story that she's referencing in this, the person burned their face to try to get into a monastery and serve in that way. But what a surprising, she keeps showing different shades and colors. But I love the strings mixed with these industrial kind of drums.
Como un cubata cae en mi garganta y se vierte en mi pelo hasta el suelo. Ego Sam Nil, Ego Sam Lux Mundi, Ego Sam Nil, Ego Sam Lux Mundi.
See, it's darkness and light.
Ego Sam Lux Mundi, Ego Sam Lux Mundi. Traje algo pa' que tú te relajes. Aquí tienes este homenaje.
Might be my favorite so
Soy la diva
far.
del tigueraje. Traje algo que te pueda coraje. En tu lore falta viaje, pero a ti te sobra equipaje.
I know that the way that you scared.
Ooh, some of the lines I really love in here, because she was like, I brought something for you to relax. Here's this homage to the diva of, I'm not even going to try and say that order right now. And in this reference, diva doesn't mean like, a diva. It's more like a goddess. And this little section coming up with this, I can make you fall in love, I can inspire you, I can poison you, I can heal you, I can lift you up. And the thing is, this is pretty much almost any relationship, because as you have a give and take in a relationship, there are moments when you can say things that cut so deeply into somebody, but then, a few hours later, be saying things that express so much love. And it's a constant, as most of this song is, a give and take. You've got the beauty of the strings and things like that, and then that undertone and the darkness. It's really, really interesting. Okay, let's jump back into it. I just love her in this, on this whole album so far. You hear the dun-dun? I love that.
Te puedo envenenar y te puedo curar. Yo te puedo elevar, yo te puedo humillar, para bien o para mal. Transformar don antes de tearu. Kimini dai na shinisareru mae ni yabayatsutte mo kana.
And now we're to Japanese.
Ooh.
I want you to listen to these falling notes that go coming right up. Here it comes. Nice low, ooh, beautiful.
Traje algo pa' que tú te relajes.
And now we've got almost an Eastern feel to it.
Soy la diva del tigueraje. Traje algo que te pueda coraje. En tu lore falta viaje, pero a ti te sobra equipaje.
It's such an interesting choice to have him come in with that. Woo. Okay, that's a good place to pause for a second. And the one thing I want to point out, if I haven't already put it in the writing, but like I said, she's using language as a way to convey the messages. As the choice of language helps to convey the message that she's putting out there. And it's a really interesting way of doing it. And she said that if it took 2.5 years, it was like a year of it was trying to perfect and learn to sing in all these languages. So you talk about a commitment to your vision. Anybody who says, I think I'm going to write an album and use 14 languages and have to learn to sing in every one of them. I learned to sing a couple of warning songs, or was it just one? Maybe two, in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish at all. So that was hard enough, just learning one. And I even kind of knew the song. She's writing it from scratch. Wow. And then hearing it, she must be a little Mozart-y in the way she can hear music in her head to go with what she's doing, because you don't write a song like this without having a tone and an idea where the instruments are going in your head as you're going. All right, let's get into it because we have yet another change in tone. It's almost like chopsticks, but more detailed. Ooh! I love these little bursts of strings. What a beautiful arrangement. And that's almost like flamenco type feel to the backing while you've got this orchestral stuff going on. Really cool. It's like the claps that go with, wow. And then the choir sound. I feel like you're going up a hill towards salvation, don't you? So strong. Oof. Wow. She is blowing me away with this. Okay, so this one is in Italian. And I'm just going to guess at the pronunciation. Mio Cristo piange diamante. Let's go with that. But it's My Christ Cries Diamonds. And it's in Italian, as I said. So let's go ahead and look into the lyrics on this. This is stunning. I can see why people were so anxious for me to get to this. The two albums that have been most really pushed, I mean, I've got ones that I'm wanting to do, like Odyssey and, the Florence and the Machine Odyssey, and there's some Beyonce stuff. But it's this, and the Music May Contain Hope from Ray, which, if the songs I've heard off of that are any indication, that album's going to be amazing too. So who's going to win Album of the Year? Okay, let's look into this one. All right, this one is inspired by Saint Clare of Assisi. Okay, so ROSALÍA wanted to write an aria, so she did it in Italian. Saint Clare devoted her life to the poor. Instead of being married off at 18, Claire's aunt helped her run away to become a nun instead. A lot of nuns on this album. Cut off all her hair as a sign she belonged only to God. I gotta love this about this person that wrote this article. I'm pretty sure it was a woman. Let me make sure, so I don't keep saying she if it wasn't a she. Kelly Johnson. It looks like a woman. Okay. She put in a funny line here because, St. Clair cut off all her hair to go there, and her family tried to entice her to come back with money. And then she wrote here, but they only relented when she ripped off her veil to reveal her fugly haircut. That's just funny. Oh, so Claire became friends with St. Francis of Assisi, who I have heard of. And Claire's sister followed her to the convent instead of agreeing to marry. So that's cool. This song is about the friendship between Claire and St. Francis. And I did not know that St. Francis of Assisi, at one point in his life, displayed the signs of stigmata. So that was an interesting fact. And originally, ROSALÍA wrote the song in Spanish, and then translated it into Italian, because the two saints are Italian also. So let's get into it.
Più bello, sei l'uragano più bello che io abbia mai visto.
Listen to how little effect there is on her voice.
Il migliore dei dolmen si alzarebbe per te.
You hear the harp? Or was that the piano?
Fai tremare la terra.
Might have been just piano.
Si innalzi al tuo fianco, ma quando non riuscire ad elevarsi sei.
Ooh. What a beautiful moment.
Sei tu.
Ooh.
Imperfetti.
That was a lovely cry.
Agenti del caos.
Beautiful.
Ci smontiamo come i miti, mio re dell'anarchia, mio astro imprudente. Preferito quando piangi, raccogli.
I love the lilting
le
nature
tue
of the piano
lacrime
and all.
e bagna la tua fronte, qualunque sia
Just the swell of the orchestra. Oh,
Mio
chills.
Cristo piange diamante, piange
Beautiful.
diamante, Mio Cristo in diamante.
Oh,
Ti porto.
I gotta go back on that little like gasp cry at the end of that line. So beautiful, but that swell of the orchestra and then pulling back again. It's my favorite thing she's doing on this album is the build and then just instantly back.
Piange diamante, Mio Cristo in diamante.
I love that.
Ti porto sempre, sempre ti porto sempre. Ti porto sempre, sempre.
Ooh, that. Ooh, we gotta run that back. That was all one breath, I think. That was masterful. The delicacy of the
La
note.
verità è che entrambi abbiamo macchie
Love those low
e nessuno dei
tones.
due può sfuggire di l'altro.
And the little
C'è
flutes
sempre
coming in above it.
qualcosa di te che ancora non so come il lato nascosto della luna una volta svelato so che non lo dimenticherò.
Every moment of this is beautiful.
Quanti pugni ti hanno dato che avrebbero dovuto essere abbracci.
Okay, I want to go back and hear where that came back in. And I also want to listen to her going to she's been in this high lilting place through most of it, and then she goes down into these nice low, rich tones, and then it leads into this nice little, what is it, a piccolo kind of sound coming in? I'm not sure.
Posto della luna, una volta svelato, so che non lo dimenticherò.
You hear that push and
Quanti
pull?
pugni ti hanno dato che avrebbero
it's a
dovuto
violin.
essere abbracci. E quanti abbracci hai dato che avrebbero potuto essere pugni.
God, the symphony must have loved this music.
Mio mio caro amico, l'amore che non si sceglie e non si lascia cadere, mio caro amico, con te la gravità è graziosa, la grazia è grande.
Her opera training coming out here.
Mio Cristo piange diamanti, piange, piange diamanti.
Hear that little bit of fry right there?
Mio Cristo in diamante, ti porto sempre, sempre, ti porto sempre,
Ooh, you can just see the, timpani swells and all. Ooh. What an amazing note there.
And then
Okay, I got to go back and hear that again. Oh my God, that was amazing. Because she started out with almost like fry in her voice, the kind of grittiness, and then it went, let's see.
in diamante, ti porto sempre, ti porto sempre, sempre.
Fry. Then up to head voice.
that's gonna be the energy. And then
Wow. Okay, that one was the most powerful song. I got to restart my camera. Hold on. Well, hey guys, I'm back. I had to take a little break. My eyes were getting tired from all the reading. Anyway, we are back now with number 6, Berghain. I mispronounced it the first time I did the video of it, and also was going off of what it said on the internet at the time, that it was based on the nightclub of the same name, but that is not the case. And ROSALÍA has cleared that up, that it's more like the actual translation is Mountain Grove. And she's talking about like a forest within your mind is kind of how she pictures it, where all of your thoughts live. So that's the correct thing now. This one is based on Hildegard, who I think became a saint. But she was someone who was very accomplished in her time for inventing her own language, writing, composing, philosophy, and having visions. It also gets into Vamala, who is an Indian poet and prostitute, and was another inspiration for the song. And it has to do with carrying the weight of so much on your shoulders and all that from... in this, it feels like a bad relationship where you're kind of codependent and you're letting yourself be taken over by the other person in the relationship, whether it's just emotionally, maybe physically also, and trying to bear that weight and still remain a good person. And she said that Vamala and some of the themes that she was doing through all of this and all of her research made her rethink what makes a saint. And that it's not based on purity and all of that. It's more, well, it's not just about purity. That even someone unpure could do things that are saintly. So anyway, we're going to jump into this and see how this one goes. Of course, I've heard the song before since I did the video, but it'll be interesting to be able to just focus on the song now. Have a sip of wine before I start. I do love the frenetic pace just to jump right into it. It's like we're jumping into her life already in progress. And I love having a huge choir here as well. Boy, her operatic skills here really... I've always loved this kind of just driving choral attack. Oh, I want to point out here, I'm loving how the orchestra pulled back and just is doing stabs, you know, while she's going through this section, because, you know, she's talking about how kind of just oppressed she feels and having to drive down so many things. Yeah, like she says, I keep many things stored in my heart, and then like a lead teddy bear. So it's just the weight of everything just pushes down on her. And then, you know, we get back into the whole thing of, you know, that his love is her love and his blood is my blood. But yeah, pay attention to how much they do of manipulating the orchestra to leave space at times to give the dynamics. Like right here, they pulled back to just the tick. And now we're going to get stabs. Love those. I love too that she came from that really soprano-y place down into just a chesty, softer voice. Weighty ending. Okay, and I think we're about to go into the Björk part. And when she's talking in here about, like right here, it says the only way to save us is through through the divine, basically. The only way I will be saved is through the divine. And I think it's saying that she needs to put divine actions out into the world, and by doing so, it makes her divine internally. And that's the way to save herself from just the crushing weight of the situation she's in. So let's get back to Björk being a little birdie singing. Really love the orchestral part of this too. It's so interesting. This is in English. Ooh. I don't think I noticed the voices off to the side before.
I'll fuck you till you love me. I'll fuck you till you love me. I'll fuck you till you love me.
I know a lot of people, well, there are people that don't like this section of the song because it doesn't make sense to them.
Do you love me? Do you love me?
Ooh. I love the way the music works with it, though. And the way it's becoming distorted and almost demonic. Oh, was that it? Wow. All of these songs are so short. I keep wanting them to be longer. And she just kind of wrote what was necessary to get across the message that she was trying to convey. the whole "I'll fuck you till you love me" thing, some people said that it comes from like a quote from Mike Tyson. It also conveys the whole feeling of she's in this horrible situation, and I think he's representing either other person in the relationship. This could also be another thing alluding to fame and the way the world just comes at you and can beat you down. And I think it gets distorted and demonic and all that sounding because if I remember in the video, it almost looks like she dies at the end and then becomes a dove. And so he's just driving it and driving it and driving it until she just dies. But could be wrong. So now we are to La Perla, which is the pearl. This one, oh, the last one, by the way, was in German and Spanish. This one is just in Spanish. I'm going to check the lyrics real quick and be right back with you. All right, so this one, I'd forgotten. It was that she has Yaritza y su esencia. I'll guess that's somewhat close. In on this as well. And yeah, because it's been a little while since I did that video. But some people speculate that this has a lot to do with her ex-fiance. She hasn't specified that, but she also hasn't denied that some of her personal things are inherently going to be coming out in her writing. Oh yeah, this is about dishonesty in a relationship and just always needing to be, you know, fed praise and all those kinds of things, if I remember, and how it's just draining on the person that's with them. Yeah, and how basically he's never there for her, and isn't honest, and I think cheats on her and all kinds of stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Oh yeah, I forgot it was this feel.
Hola, ladrón de paz.
Nice little waltzy.
Campo de minas para mi sensibilidad.
1, 2, 3.
Playboy, un campeón. Gasta el dinero que tiene también el que no.
Love the nylon string guitar there.
Él es tan encantador, estrella de la sin razón.
And it's so playful sounding.
Medalla olímpica de oro, el más cabrón. Tienes el podio de la gran desilusión.
It's so playfully written.
La decepción local,
almost to be demeaning to him, you know?
Un terrorista emocional, el mayor desastre mundial. Es una perla, nadie se fía. Es una perla, una de mucho cuidado.
Oh, I like that little swell right there. I want to go back and hear that again. And also, I like I said, it's like she's writing playfully, almost taunting him. That it's belittling him by him thinking he's all that, and her just treating him like a joke, because he is a joke in the way he treats other people and the way he expects to be treated. So anyway, let's get back into it. I really love the feel of this one. Ooh. I love those little... Listen to that kind of... Wow, the percussion in this is interesting. Is there any way she hasn't used her voice already? Tremendo.
es que, claro.
Let me run back for a second, because if I remember, I was thinking, hold on, let me see. Anyway, I didn't realize that they had a really high voice and that it sounded similar to her, you know, but she uses her voice in so many different ways, you could almost believe that it's just her changing how she sings, but it's actually the other person.
Honestidad. No me das pena, quien queda contigo se cena. Siempre se autoinvita, si puede vive en casa ajena. Qué flaca andante, tremendo desastre. Dirá que no fue él, que fue su doppelganger.
She has so many powerful things on the score on this, and that little giggle.
Bueno, es que, claro, no referirse a él como icono sería para él una narrativa reduccionista, ¿me entiendes? Nunca le prestes nada, no lo devolverá. Salva la perdida, es su especialidad. La lealtad y la fidelidad es un idioma.
And there's that odd little percussion in there.
Su masterpiece, su colección de bras. Si le pides ayuda, desaparecerá.
Boy, this would sound so different without the orchestra having that playful.
Terrorista emocional, el mayor desastre mundial.
Ooh, love that little rundown.
Perla, nadie se fía. Es una perla, una de mucho cuidado.
Wow. Yeah, I really forgot how much I enjoyed that one. I just like that it's basically a very happy diss track. So that makes me happy. All right, guys, as you can see, it's a different time now. Been having to break this up a little bit because it's my eyes have been getting tired from all the reading and research as I'm going. So anyway, we're to the next song, and it is Mundo Nuevo, which translates to New World. We'll get into it as it goes, but I did read through the lyrics, and actually they're pretty straightforward. This one is basically saying that she's not happy with the world we're living in and all of the things that go on within it, and it would be nice to live in a new world where there was more truth and more honesty and maybe some of that baggage is gone from the old world. Can't agree more in a lot of ways. All right, let's jump back in. What an interesting way to start. Ooh. I love it's almost like one of the higher notes on the strings and then the lower note. Ooh, I love the kind of Arabic Eastern sound.
Quisiera yo renegar.
I love rolled R's, even though you all are used to it in Spanish, but I can't do it, so. Ooh. Wow.
Yo quisiera renegar.
Boy, the background music. Ooh.
De este mundo, por entero, volver de nuevo a habitar.
Wow.
Mar de mi corazón.
Ooh, short but sweet, huh? God, the swelling of the orchid. Ooh, that was
Por
interesting.
ver si en un mundo nuevo
Ooh.
Vega ciega en un mundo nuevo y encontraba más verdad.
Ooh. I love that little bit of timpani at the end. That one was just... I know the orchestra added some of the drama to it, but that was all about her voice and the pleading quality of it, of saying, why can't the world that she left, because I think the whole thing is that she left the world at the beginning and is, exploring all these different things. And this is talking about, I wish the world I came back to, because she's going to return to this world, would be a better place than the one I left. And the pleading sound in her operatic tones and all that were, and it wasn't so much operatic, it was operatic, but also it had a flamenco feel to it. Flamenco opera. Opera minko. But anyway, I'll see if I'm correct in that that's what it had when I look through the music a little bit more. Anyway, very, very cool. I love the drama and the strings, and they weren't busy. They were just doing swells and soundscape behind her. Really beautiful. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is... Let me see what language. This is Spanish and Ukrainian. Wow. So is it de Madrugá? Once again, can't roll my R's. So that's at dawn. Okay, so this one has a really, really interesting backstory to it, and I'll put parts of it down in the written underneath. A lot of this is to save time of me not, saying everything, because this is going to be such a long reaction as it is. But I'll put the story elements in there. But this has to do with the way she's saying it is that this almost feels like she's using religion, not her, but the saint that she's writing about, which is Saint Olga of Kiev. And she basically ruled over parts of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia back in the day. She was known for her merciless subjugation of the civilians as revenge for the murder of her husband. And then she ruled in his stead until her son became old enough, and then he was the first one to adopt Christianity in that region. As a ruler. But this song deals very much with revenge, and that all that revenge, I think what she's saying is that what that saint did of seeking revenge was kind of against the Christian faith of, it's not going to bring anybody back. And even though you have a right to revenge, in a lot of ways through the writings, it doesn't mean that it's something that you should do, because it won't solve anything. So we'll see how it sounds, and let's go ahead and get into it. All right.
Como que de madrugá, 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 de madrugá. La cruz en el pecho calibra mi cuerpo para desquitarme. Yo tengo derecho. La cruz en el pecho calibra mi cuerpo para desquitarme. Yo tengo derecho. Me pesa la cadena.
Oh, before we go any further, I just want to say how interesting this combination of things going at the same time. Her melody, so you've got the bass line playing harmonically under her vocal, and then there are whispers layered on top of that. It's an interesting three things to be going at the same time that I don't know that I've ever heard before. So once again, interesting ideas playing out. Here we go.
Madrugá, la cruz en el pecho calibra mi cuerpo para desquitarme. Yo tengo derecho. La
You
cruz
hear the
en
bass
el
going,
pecho
and then the
calibra mi
claps.
cuerpo para desquitarme. Yo tengo derecho.
Ooh.
Me pesa la
Did you notice the breathing over that?
Tanto mira para atrás. No hay un arma, una Glock o Beretta que dispare y te traiga de vuelta.
I'm enthralled with the layering
Ya не шукаю
of disparate things
помсти.
going on.
Помста шукає мене. Я не шукаю помсти.
Wow.
Los luceros del cielo se reflejan en mi pelo.
I love the stops of the orchestra.
Como que todas en mi pelo.
Wow.
De madrugá, de madrugá.
Okay, hold on. And once again, the production on this CD is incredible. Because for one thing, trying to work an orchestra in with other instruments and all that can sometimes overpower the other instruments, but the production on this is really technically proficient and allowing you to hear even little things, because there's little claps going on and things like that, and all of that under her clear vocal with very little effect. But then it comes in with this reverb effect with this one line behind her in a second, and it's really, really interesting. Love it.
Todos los luceros del cielo se
And those stops.
reflejan en mi pelo. Traigo mil lenguas de fuego. Como que todas en mi pelo.
That little thing in the
De madrugá,
background.
de madrugá, de madrugá, de madrugá, de madrugá.
Ooh, I love
de
the,
madrugá,
once
de
again, a
madrugá,
frenetic
de
pace
madrugá,
picking up.
de madrugá, 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 de madrugá.
And using more orchestral. They keep using more orchestral drums rather than, standard drums. And I really love that. Of course, if you got an orchestra like I think this is London Symphony Orchestra, then why wouldn't you, right?